And welcome to the SpartanMag.com VCast. Jim Comporty. No Paul Konadike today. Paul, hope you're doing well back at home. Appreciate your work back at home. We'll have you back here with us real soon. Anyway, Michigan State here at Byrd Stadium, College Park, Maryland. Michigan State with a victory over Maryland, 24-3. Hard-earned victory. I would have been down on the field, but it's really windy down there. Don't have the microphone, so I'm using this. Shouldn't have a problem with wind in here, but this is actually the coaches' room. This is where the coaches were during the course of the game. Michigan State, I would say a pretty well-coached team today, especially on defense. The defense for Michigan State, 2 straight weeks, taking on a difficult opponent and coming through each time, shutting them down, holding the opponent. Last week, Purdue. This week, Maryland, far below their averages. Michigan State, no more missed assignments, 2 straight weeks, playing clean football in that regard. Assignments, communication, and now the Michigan State defense, you know what, starting to get a little bit of into midseason form, championship form even. It's a defense that would be fitting of a championship team if it weren't for the problems on offense, mostly stemming from injuries. As far as the offense goes, Brian Lewerke today, you saw what happened. His numbers ended up being okay, 11 out of 20, 87 yards. I guess it's not okay, 1 interception, 87 yards. A lot of wind out there affected the play calling and the performance of both quarterbacks. Neither team, 4 different quarterbacks played today. No one could really get anything going. But Lewerke felt that he could go, and they made the decision, 48 hours ago or so. And you saw there were some struggles there. So there were some questions in the press box and on the Underground Bunker message board, the official in-game thread, as to whether Michigan State might start the second half with Rocky Lombardi. And Michigan State did say, going into the second half, that Lombardi would play at some point and he would have a series. And D'Antonio, said he wanted to get Lombardi on the field and not just mop-up situation. He wanted to challenge him with a challenging situation. And he got a challenging situation. Right after Brian Lewerke threw his first interception, Lewerke goes in with momentum still hanging in the balance a little bit, and he threw an interception, made a mistake with the ball batted down. Darrell Stewart, of course, a hero on that play, up 17-3. If that one scores, it cuts it to 17-10, and the whole game could have changed right there. Michigan State was always precariously one big mistake away from allowing Maryland back in the game. The mistake happened, but Darrell Stewart erased it. Darrell Stewart played more in the slot today with Cody White back. White was able to play more on the X, which put Stewart in the slot. And, Lewerke had the one good drive, second possession of the second half, completed 5 passes in that drive, including one to Darrell Stewart on an out route on 2nd and 5. That was the key play of that drive. And Lewerke makes that pass, will slot out on target, and it becomes a surprise when he throws a good, sharp, accurate pass. It shouldn't be a surprise when Brian Lewerke throws a pass. He's not right, he's injured. But even before the Penn State game, when he sustained the injury, wasn't quite the same level of efficiency that he was last year. Hasn't been the runner that he was last year. Today he ran the ball effectively and needed it because of all the windy circumstances. And, Lewerke rushed for 45 yards, pulled one out on the touchdown drive in the first half, and they game planned that quarterback run a little bit. So, big question is going to be quarterback, Lewerke, Lombardi. Is there quarterback controversy? Not right now. D'Antonio says Lewerke's the quarterback, and he recited all of Lewerke's career stats. Obviously, D'Antonio trying to take away any thoughts that there could be any kind of quarterback discussion. He's trying to quell that right now. But if there's another performance like this, people are going to talk about it more, rightly or wrongly. Sure, when Lewerke is healthy and confident, he's the guy. Lombardi today only threw really 2 passes. One he was kind of flushed out. I can't remember if it was a flush out or it was a sprint out to the right sideline. Threw into a crowd a little bit, threw it out of bounds safely, and then came back with an interception the next time he passed it. So really, he played 3 or 4 possessions, but only put it in the air twice. So although he was able to get in there and learn more about what game speed is with seeing a different defense playing on the road, we didn't see Lombardi really drop back and make reads against a different coverage, a difficult coverage. Maryland leading the Big Ten in interceptions, got 2 today. So it would have been good for Michigan State from a developmental standpoint if Lombardi would have gotten more of a chance to make some reads, make some throws, and work himself into a rhythm against a challenging pass defense. So goes into next week. Lewerke says he feels better. I asked him if the arm hurts when he throws. Of course, he says it does, but it's not an injury that it doesn't hurt the injury for him to continue to throw. The only thing that could hurt it is if he gets landed on or lands on it further tweaks it or injures it that way. There's the muscles used to throw the ball are not the muscles and so forth that are injured with Lewerke right now. So Lewerke, I mean, he wants to protect that job a little bit too. You know how these competitors are. He wants to, he and Lombardi are real good friends, but he wants to hold on to that position as Michigan State improves to 6-3. And with that defense, with Ohio State continuing to struggle and having trouble finding their way, all of a sudden Michigan State at home against Ohio State looks like a much more winnable game than it might have appeared a month ago or even in the summer. Michigan State with a chance to win that game. It's going to be difficult. Go on the road. Nebraska's playing better. Win that game. Come back home Thanksgiving weekend. Beat Rutgers. A chance to go 9-3 again with all the problems they faced this year. And they left a couple wins on the field. There's no question about it. I mean, the Arizona State game could have been theirs. Difficult circumstances. Didn't finish it. Northwestern game. The injuries really hit hard that game, but Northwestern won. Deserved to win. So Michigan State left some wins on the field already this year. But 6-3, a chance to gear toward 9-3. And in talking to Kari Willis and Brian Lewerke and some of these guys, they're fired up about trying to win every week and get as good as they can, get as good a record as they can to get to 9-3 and as good a bowl game as possible. Connor Hayward, breakthrough performance today, 157 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns. On the first touchdown, that 18 or 19-yarder on the opening drive or the second drive, I think it might have been. Counter sweep, Michigan State showing the counter sweep today. Hadn't shown that play all year. Featured it today. Broke that one loose in the red zone. Michigan State getting some good blocking up front. The run game has been a problem all year. Needed it today and came away with 269 yards rushing. Far and away their best rushing effort of the year. And they only had like 1 or 2 games last year that would approach that. And a windy day like this today, you needed the offensive line to come through. And on the 80-yarder, Cole Chewins made a good block. Also double-team block, center and left guard. Higbee and Buter going the distance at center. And Kevin Jarvis back on the field again at right guard. Against the Maryland defense that has some good individuals, but you need to run for 250 against them. Because I've seen, Illinois rush for 170 plus. Rutgers rush for 170. Maryland's got some good athletes up front, but the will up front wavers a little bit. I thought Maryland's will on defense wavered a little bit, and Michigan State went ahead and put a hole in them as the game progressed. So Michigan State, signs of life on the offensive line. Saw that a little bit at Penn State, more of it today. Now against Ohio State, a defense that's been beleaguered, but a team that Michigan State certainly did not match up well against last year. That's going to be a pivotal game for the season. Are you going to have a 7-5 type of season, or are you going to go 9-3 and play in a legit New Year's Day bowl game? That's what this team has a chance to do, and they've got the defense squaring away to get that done. Receivers now. Get Stewart a little bit more into his role. Cody White, some good moments today. Went to him early on the second pass play of the day. Lewerke went to Cody White. Kind of I don't know if it was a fade or a corner fade or a go route, but from the right hash to the far side of the field, gain of about 25. Cody White making a great catch on that one while being interfered with against good coverage. Well, it turned out to be illegal coverage, but he wasn't. I was right in the line of vision when that thing was getting thrown, and that guy wasn't that open when he threw it. Lewerke put up, I don't want to say a prayer, but a pass where he really trusts Cody White to make that play. Would have been a flag anyway, but he makes the catch and gets the yards rather than just 15 yards on a penalty. Great catch there for Cody White. Later in the game, I think it was the first drive of the second half, Cody White dropped a pass on 3rd and 5. Michigan State went 3 and out and had to punt. So Cody White, a little bit of good and bad as he continues to try to get his feet wet, but he's an exuberant guy that provides a lot of. Actually, that was the 3rd drive of the second half on 3rd and 4, a 3 and out after Michigan State had taken a 17-3 lead. Drops that pass, but Cody White brings a lot of enthusiasm to the sideline. Diversifies the offense quite a bit also. He'll build on this. That was a great catch he made there. Then the dropped pass. He'll go back to work, and the offense can get a lot better if he's out there doing his thing. Jalen Naylor, they threw to him once on a shovel pass. They need to get him more involved. I know he's just a freshman, and it's hard to expect a lot out of freshmen in terms of the entire route tree and all the reads and all the option routes. But with his speed and ability, it's time to get him some more targets, I would say. Easy for me to say. But Naylor's a guy that could help this offense because the offense, as you know, has been staggered, been stammering all year. But there's still potential. If the offensive line can get squared away, run game a little too early to say that it's in high gear. Quarterback situation is a question, of course, but you need the quarterbacks to have a run game, to have pass protection, to have more of a complement of talent at the wide receiver position. Cody White gives them that. Now Jalen Naylor gives them that. Maurice Nelson didn't travel today. Josh Butler on defense at corner didn't travel today either, but I don't know if or when Maurice Nelson will come back or what form he will be in. But right now, Naylor and White complementing Stewart, it's a big deal there. They need that. I thought that Lewerke was starting to get into a groove early in the second half. The first drive of the second half, 3rd down and 10, he's got Cody White open in the cover 2 hole and just missed him. The first drive of the second half. Remember, Lewerke had struggled in the first half. A lot of us were talking about, does Lombardi start the second half? I don't know. Incompletion on that one. If you're watching on TV, you may have seen D'Antonio. He was right in the line of the direction of that throw. He sees it, sees that the receiver's open, and Lewerke just missed him. And he saw D'Antonio just kind of do one of these numbers. You know that he's thinking, do we go to Lombardi now or later? The body language for D'Antonio on that one. He loves Brian Lewerke, but can't quite trust him with all of his abilities right now. Even the body language of Brian Lewerke is not what it used to be. He says, his quote is, sometimes the ball just comes out funny. So he's trying to find it, and you saw him throw at people's feet on a couple of easy swing passes, screen passes, out to the flat, missed guys, and he's frustrated, so they went with Lombardi. But that was the first drive of the second half when he missed Cody White in the cover 2 hole. They let Lewerke come out for the second drive. That was Lewerke's best drive of the day. That was the touchdown drive that went up 17-3. That's when Hayward fumbled in the end zone. Max Rosenthal recovered it. But in terms of player development, more importantly, Lewerke on that drive had 5 completions, I think, to 4 different receivers. Hit Darrell Stewart twice on a 10-yarder and a 5-yard on a hitch. Also completed one to Matt Dotson over the middle. Actually, it was a slot out. Lewerke was actually off target on that one, threw it high. Dotson bailed him out with a great catch on that one. Another good day for Matt Dotson. And also Brandon Sowards on a 12-yard, I think, a comeback. So, completions of 10, 5, 8, 12 yards for Lewerke on that drive. And I thought he was getting hot. D'Antonio thought he was getting into a rhythm. Comes out the next drive. Then Cody White, 3rd and 4, that drop. Kills that drive, going 3 and out. So you still feel good about Lewerke at that point. At least I would. He had driven him for a touchdown to go up 17-3, and then he delivers the ball accurately on 3rd and 4. Cody White drops it. So I thought he was heating up. I thought he was in good shape. Then he goes out, throws the interception in the left flat, cover 2. The corner stayed over there, cloud in the sideline. I asked Lewerke about it. He said it came out kind of funny, and he was trying to touch it and aim it over that guy instead of just throwing it. Kind of goosed it a littleit, left it short, bad interception. Last play that he played the whole day. After that, Lombardi goes in and plays the last, 3 or 4 or 5 possessions. So Lewerke comes out of this feeling a little bit better. He feels like he didn't hurt his arm in terms of getting landed on today, even though they incorporated the run game. So he'll defend his turf, and he'll be the quarterback, I would imagine, throughout practice next week. This week it was iffy, back and forth. They both kind of shared it. I would anticipate Lewerke being the starter all week as they try to get some revenge a little bit on Ohio State. I don't know if revenge is the right word because there's no hatred for Ohio State, I don't think, right now. They just want to save some face after what happened last year. Michigan State certainly won't have any trouble getting focus for that game. No matter what Ohio State's record is, Michigan State will give Ohio State Michigan State's best game that they could possibly give at this point. Kevin Jarvis playing. I didn't get a real close look on him. It looked like he was doing everything. They were having him pull from the backside, had him pull from the front side a couple times, blocking down. I'll have to go back over to the film to take a look at that. Special teams, Behringer he really struggled, especially into the wind. The 3 points that Maryland got were off a bad punt, short field goal. And then, the 8-yarder put Maryland right back in business for that one. But, on the bad punt, Michigan State did a pretty good job on, getting off the field. Can't remember what play got them off the field, but Tyreek Thompson had a roughing the passer penalty on that drive. Between that roughing the passer personal foul in the red zone and also Jacob Panashuk with a personal foul, dead ball late in the game. at a time when it's third down. It's an incompletion. Maryland's getting ready to punt, and Panashuk, really, great young player, great future, good player. That's what coaches would call a selfish play, to have a personal foul after the whistle when the defense is off the field. They brought him out of the game, put Beasley in. I don't think Jacob Panashuk played again. You can't have that. Tyreke Thompson, second straight game, personal foul for him. Got to clean that up. That's another good kid, a bright kid that knows better than that. Michigan State 5 sacks today. Willikis was a factor in there. Tyreke Thompson with a half sack. Brandon Randall, good job getting off the field. I think it was a third down sack. Real good pass rush for Brandon Randall, turning the corner, which he's improved upon. When he turned the corner on that, he hit his second gear, he eased up, then he went into speed motion again. It looked like he was surprised that he was in the backfield. Hey, Brandon, don't be surprised. You're going to get in the backfield more and more. You're just a sophomore with a lot of speed. He's improved his pass rush, working with Chuck Bulla. That was a nice sack, nice play there by Brandon Randall. Josiah Scott back on the field for Michigan State. Started, played most of the way. Trey Person did not dress. He was injured. So the revolving doors of injuries continues for Michigan State. Jordan Reed, who was injured last week against Purdue, you saw him. He was out there today playing right tackle the whole way. But Josiah Scott comes back, but no Trey Person, no Josh Butler. So the backup was Shakur Brown. And I'm not sure who the number 4 corner would have been. Justin Lane only played, I only saw him on an offense for one snap, and it was a run play. So with Cody White back, Justin Lane doesn't have to play as much wide receiver. And with Trey Person out, and you don't know what Josiah Scott's endurance level would be, you don't want to use Justin Lane at wide receiver. You want to keep him fresh, playing every down at corner. So Justin Lane, Josiah Scott back as a tandem for the first time all year. And they looked good. Josiah Scott was tested deep once, and looked like the receiver might have had to step on him for a second, but looked like he was putting in some closing speed to close on it, but we don't know because the quarterback, Kazim Hill, overthrew everybody by about 10 yards on that one. Right after that play, Josiah Scott asked to come out. Fatigue, a little bit of a factor. Good on him to recognize, hey, it's time to get out now. Just to get Shakur Brown in there, get some fresh legs. And you have to come out at that point. They told him that he needs to come out because sometimes in these offenses today, somebody will run you deep and then sub the wide receiver out and then bring in another wide receiver and run you deep with a pair of fresh legs. So Josiah Scott comes out, played a pretty clean game as far as I could tell. Also, David Dowell with a real nice pass breakup on a third down play late in the game. Game was already decided at that point, but Michigan State played zone most of the game, went man-to-man on third down on a couple of occasions. This was one of the rare situations when Michigan State played man-to-man. David Dowell, they were in press across the board. Dowell in press coverage against the widest receiver to the field, the widest number 3 receiver, covered him. Might have had a little bit of a separation. He's a safety, doesn't play a lot of press defense. Press man-to-man in this situation. The single safety deep was Morrissey. Dowell plants a foot, breaks on the ball. Nice pass breakup for David Dowell on that one, so he'll gain some more confidence in that regard. As far as the punter situation, Michigan State is what they are at punter. It's a third punter. I saw someone else practicing punting, and it wasn't Rocky Lombardi at halftime, and I don't think it was Prizup either, the redshirting freshman. But Behringer boomed one with the wind in the first quarter. After that, he really struggled into the wind. Maryland's best play was the punt today, both letting Michigan State punt it and when Maryland punted it. It was like a turnover every time Michigan State punted there in the second half. And I'm not sure what you can do about that. Michigan State just has to live with it. But Buckeyes, Cornhuskers, and the Scarlet Knights coming up for Michigan State. I felt like, we talked about this with Big Movie at the Skull Session this week. I felt like Michigan State had kind of hit the reset button on the season a little bit after the Purdue game. And this one, not the prettiest game, not the easiest circumstances for the offense. You don't know what's going on at quarterback. Hard to throw in this wind. Leaned on the run game came through. Leaned on the run defense, pride game for the run defense. They showed they could handcuff the second best statistical run offense in the country. Pass defense didn't face a very good pass offense today, but mixed up some zone coverages. There was one coverage on a third down play where Michigan State was a nickel and shifted into a cover 4 shell except for one guy. Justin Lane was man-to-man. I can't remember who he was covering, but whoever they identified as the biggest threat for a receiver for the team from Maryland, maybe by formation or by personnel, Justin Lane man-to-man on that guy all the way across, while everybody else was in zone. How do you have enough players to do that? Well, they were only rushing 3 on that one, so that gave them an extra player. The exact type of coverage Big Mooby was talking about in the Skull Session podcast earlier this week. That was in the third down. That was in the second half. I don't know if it's the third quarter or not. But anyway, Michigan State had more wrinkles to go to in pass defense. Josiah Scott out there getting in shape. A lot more expertise out there. Kari Willis calling the plays. Michigan State has more bags of tricks in their pass defense that they can go to. And Haskins is a great quarterback. He was great in the first half of the season. We'll see what his numbers are coming into this one. I know he threw an interception in the end zone against Nebraska earlier today. But Michigan State's pass defense getting better. The pass rush getting better. Linebackers solid against the run. So the defense playing championship football, they'll need it next week. Making progress there on defense. A defense they can lean on and trust. Just got to get the quarterback things straightened out. I say just have to get it straightened out. I don't know when that's going to be right. I don't know when the work is going to feel right. But that's something Michigan State's going to continue to massage and probe and figure out. Because that's one thing that's keeping them from making progress toward their potential as they're getting more of their injured players back. So Michigan State 6-3 advances out of here. First week in November, head into the rest of November. It was a nice October type of day here, except for the wind. Nice and dry, 55 degrees. It's a lot of fun walking through campus on the way over here. I miss Paul Konerdijk. We'll be back in East Lansing soon to see him. Michigan State will the Spartan Mag caravan will get back in gear early next week. Big basketball game in Indianapolis. Michigan State ranked number 10 in the country against the number 1 ranked Kansas Jayhawks. Jayhawks and Spartans in Indianapolis. Sounds like basketball. Some of you guys might not be ready for basketball, but that one's going to be entertaining. We will be down there for that one. We'll get Paul back for that, and then get back geared toward next week. A big one against the Buckeyes, Spartan Stadium on Saturday. So appreciate all the Maggers, all the subscribers. Spread the word about Spartan Mag. Spartan Mag's the place to be. You got to be there. You got to be here. Appreciate you guys being here for Paul Konerdijk, Jim Comparoni, and Bird Stadium, College Park, Maryland. The VCast, SpartanMag.com.